Clinton County Board of Elections Precinct Election Official Training, November 3rd, 2020 General Election. PEO Roles and Responsibilities Multi-Precinct Voting Locations. Multi-precinct polling locations. Clinton County has 14 polling locations. 5 of these locations serve only one precinct. They tend to be in rural parts of the county. The other 9 polling locations house several precincts, from 2 to 7 precincts in one location. Each polling location has a voting location manager, Republican, and an assistant voting location manager, Democrat. Each precinct team is made up of 4 members. 2 precinct team members are Republicans, 2 are Democrats. A Guide to Election Speak, BOE, Board of Elections, PEO, Precinct Election Official, aka poll worker, election judge, or ballot judge. VLM, Voting Location Manager. AVLM, Assistant Voting Location Manager. EPB, Electronic Poll Book, Poll Pad. PLB, Polling Location Binder, accordion folder with handle that houses paperwork for each precinct. PEO Organizational Chart, VLM, AVLM. This example shows a typical location with 4 precincts at one polling location. PEO Basic Expectations. Voting Location Manager, or VLM. The VLM is the manager of the polling location. The VLM is always a Republican, dependent upon the governorship. Assistant Voting Location Manager, AVLM. The AVLM is the assistant manager of the polling location. The AVLM is Democrat. These 2 PEOs will direct the lead PEOs and act as the liaison between the polling location and the Board of Elections. They are also the emergency response team for the polling location. Lead PEO, Precinct Team Leader. The lead PEO is the manager of the precinct team. The lead PEO is a Republican and is typically at the check-in table. Assistant PEO. The assistant PEO assists the lead PEO. The assistant PEO is a Democrat and is at the check-in table with the lead PEO. Ballot PEO number 1. Ballot PEO number 1 is at the ballot supply table and is always a Republican. Ballot PEO number 2. Ballot PEO number 2 is at the ballot supply table and is always a Democrat. PEO Basic Expectations continued. Voting options for PEOs. All PEOs should vote early in person at the Board of Elections Vote Center or by absentee ballot by mail. You might be assigned to your polling location, but we may move you to a different location at the last minute if there's a shortage in another polling location. You cannot leave the polling location during Election Day, so plan ahead and request your absentee ballot now, or review the early in-person voting schedule and mark your calendar for your voting day at the BOE. Here is a copy of our election schedule so that you can schedule your early voting. Multi-precinct voting location organizational layout. You will see the voter check-in table is not precinct specific. You have a lead and assistant PEO assigned to each check-in station. Ballot supply tables are precinct specific. In this example, we have 4 separate precincts, each with a ballot PEO number 1 and a ballot PEO number 2. VLMs AVLMs, lead PEOs, assistant PEOs, and ballot PEOs 1 and 2 are required to report for duty at their assigned precinct polling location on Election Day morning by 5:30 a.m. VLMs, AVLMs, lead PEOs, assistant PEOs, and ballot PEOs 1 and 2 should dress in business casual attire. Do not wear anything that could be perceived as political in nature. PEOs are required to wear PPE. This could include face covering and mask, or a mask and face shield in some cases. All PPE will be provided by the Board of Elections, but PEOs may bring their own masks. Do not discuss candidates, questions and issues, or anything political while working on Election Day. If a voter presses you for an opinion, explain that on Election Day, you are working as a representative of the Board of Elections and cannot display any partiality. VLM, Multi-Precinct Voting Location Manager's Duties. During voting hours, VLMs are responsible for managing the polling location and overseeing all aspects of Election Day. VLMs must be proficient in the poll pad, voter check-in system, ClearCast ballot scanner, clear access ballot marking device. They also assign tasks, schedule breaks, communicate issues and concerns to the Board of Elections, print and post the 11 and 4 lists from the poll pads, assist provisional voters with a PEO from the opposite party, manage curbside voting workers and line management workers, monitor the ballot supply table to ensure accuracy, assist disabled voters with the clear access ballot marking system and scanner if needed, act as the emergency coordinator at the polling location, and be primary contact for the Board of Elections officials and emergency personnel. Please note, to allow for lunch and other breaks, any PEO may be asked to step into this role at any time, so be ready. VLM duties continued. Contact the lead PEOs assigned to your precinct to verify they are working. Know how to get to the polling location and be prepared to pick up supplies the Saturday before the election. All VLMs should visit their polling location prior to Election Day if this is your first time working at the location, to make sure you know where you are going on the morning of the election. Eleven and 4 lists. 11 and 4 voter lists are posted at the polling location at 3 times. 1, before the polls open, listing all voters assigned to the polling location. 2, 11 a.m., showing who voted between 6:30 a.m. and 11 a.m. 3, 4 p.m., showing who voted up to 4 p.m. The posting of these lists is now the responsibility of the VLM AVLM. The first list posted before the polls open can be found in the VLM supplies. The lists for 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. should be printed by the VLM AVLM using any of the electronic poll books. One EPB electronic poll book can print the lists for the entire polling location. All lists must be returned to the BOE. AVLM, Multi-Precinct Assistant Voting Location Manager's Duties. This is a newer role for us, but primarily the same duties as the VLM. During voting hours, AVLMs are responsible for assisting the VLM in management of the polling location. AVLMs must be proficient in the poll pad voter check-in system, ClearCast ballot scanner, and the clear access ballot marking device. They also assist provisional voters with a PEO from the opposite party, manage curbside voting workers and line management workers, monitor the ballot supply table to ensure accuracy. They may be one of the Democrats who return to the BOE with a Republican lead or VLM at the end of the night with the voted ballots, poll pads, and supply bags. In the event of an emergency, the AVLM will act as an assistant to the VLM. Under the guidance of the VLM, they will direct all PEOs and ensure all ballots and poll pads are moved safely to the emergency backup location. Also note, to allow for lunch and other breaks, any PEO may be asked to step into this role at any time, so be ready. Lead PEO, multi-precinct lead PEO's duties. Lead PEOs are required to pick up their assigned precinct election supplies on Saturday, October 31st, 2020, from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at the Board of Elections Office, 111 South Nelson Avenue, County Annex Building, Entrance B, Green. Please note, if you're unable to pick up your supplies on Saturday, you will need to make arrangements with us to pick them up on Sunday, November 1st. Lead PEOs should check their blue supply bag as soon as possible after picking up the election supplies to make sure that nothing is missing. Please do not open red supply bags. They are only to be opened on election morning at your polling location. If you are missing anything, please call the office immediately. During voting hours, lead PEOs are responsible for greeting the voter and processing them in the poll pad at the check-in table, dispensing the ballot request slip to the voter who will take this to the ballot supply table, picking up supplies the Saturday before the election and ensure the safe transmittal of the unvoted ballots to the polling location, process provisional voters in the poll pad, assist the VLM and AVLM with any provisional voters, curbside voter management, line management, etc. To allow for lunch and other breaks, any PEO may be asked to step into this role at any time, so be ready. Assistant PEO, multi-precinct assistant PEO duties. During voting hours, assistant PEOs are responsible for greeting the voter and processing them in the poll pad at the check-in table, dispensing the ballot request slip to the voter who will take this to the ballot supply table, possibly maybe one of the Democrats who drives back to the Board of Elections with a Republican at the end of the day with the voted ballots, supply bags, and poll pads, processing provisional voters in the poll pad, assisting the VLM and AVLM with any provisional voters, curbside voter management, line management, etc. To allow for lunch and other breaks, any PEO may be asked to step into this role at any time, so please be ready. Ballot PEO number 1, ballot PEO number 2, multi-precinct assistant PEO duties. During voting hours, ballot PEOs are responsible for ballot PEO number 1, greets the voter at the ballot supply table and retrieves the proper ballot, taking into account any splits. Assists voters with the ClearCast ballot scanner if needed. Ballot PEO number 2 records the ballot stub number in the ballot poll book and places the ballot request slip in the envelope. Dispenses the I voted sticker to the voter after they scan their ballot and return their stub, and may possibly be one of the Democrats who drives back to the Board of Elections with a Republican at the end of the day with the voted ballots, supply bags, and poll pads. To allow for lunch and other breaks, any PEO may be asked to step into this role at any time, so please be ready. PEO basic expectations continued. At the end of the night, your lead PEO will assign tasks to each PEO. After the ballots are reconciled, the ballots are locked into the red supply bag and supplies are packed into the blue bag. The polling location binder, The green poll pad case with poll pad, red supply bag with ballots, and blue supply bags are packed into a PEO's car. The ballots in the red bag must be under the watchful eye of the PEOs at all times. A Republican PEO and a Democratic PEO must ride in the same car with the ballots back to the Board of Elections. Pro PEO tip. To account for this, precinct teams have planned who is going to be responsible for this important task in advance. And those two PEOs have met at the BOE in the morning. They drive together in one car to the polling location. Then the PEOs both have their cars there to drive home after a long day of being an election superhero. Click the link in the notes under this video to take the quiz.